I haven't seen my sister so happy in years.
Merry Christmas.
What is the origin of you getting involved in Christmas with Felicity? And what did you understand about the holiday romance genre before you took the project?
So the producers, John and Chris and I all went to film school together.
Oh, very good.
And and we had stayed in touch over the years and hadn't had a chance to collaborate on something, although we'd been looking at a couple different projects to try to do sort of that sort of thing. And then they said, hey, we have this script that we really like. And it's a Christmas movie, and would you be interested in checking it out? And I was like, thanks for thinking about me. I'd love to check it out. I mean, if it all comes down to just the script, like if the script is good, then I'm interested. And if the script is not good, then, it's not that you would say no, but you would figure out like, what do you have at your, And so to answer sort of the second part of your question at the same time, I think we all have our conceptions. Is that a word? Conceptions?
Sure.
Conceptions and misconceptions about these Christmas movies, and I guess these genre expectations of the films. And so going into reading it, I was loaded with those expectations of like, okay, is it gonna do these things? And how will it do these things? And so I read it. And when I read scripts for the first time, when I'm getting them my way, no music, no interruptions, phone away, just sit down. I print it out because I don't like to read on the computer, and just read it. And I try to experience the script like I would watch the film.
Very good.
Because I had a directing teacher one time say, it's like, when reading the script for the first time, it's the only chance you're ever going to have to experience it for the first time. I read it and was just really moved by the story and touched by it. I thought that any of the like genre things that I did in there, it got to organically in a way with that it was earned. And I was like, well, this is great, And then I had Rebecca, my wife, read it to be like, I think this is good. And she read it and she cried a bunch of times. And she was like, this is great. This is a good script. It's a good story. And from then on, it was off to the races.
So you got a naturalism out of the actors that create a more expressive reality than usual. Did you have casting decisions, and how did you approach the actors on this type of project?
Yeah, of course. I think definitely involved in the casting process. It was me and John and Chris, again, the producing team, and myself, with feedback from obviously the investors and the co-producers, yes, and then the distribution company. So it's like, everyone gets into it. And our wonderful casting director, Sarah, and you do the casting thing and you sort of poke at it and see where you can take things, and you match people up together. And then we landed with just an unbelievable cast. I loved all of them. I'd worked with Mark Belden, who plays the dad. He was in my first feature, Close Quarters, actually. But I hadn't worked, I don't think, with anyone else. I'm going to kick myself if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'd worked with anyone else before. And so, yeah, for me, it's like we started the first question with the beginning and part of the process, which is it has to be a good story. And then it comes into like, you have to, it has to be well acted. I mean, that's really what in a Christmas movie or a movie like this, it doesn't have to necessarily just be a Christmas movie. It comes down to the acting, and in my opinion, obviously, I think you're right that some of these other films don't focus on that as much. And so for me, it's, if you believe in the characters and you like them, you're going to go on the journey with them. And so, we cast them and then started the process of trying to get to know each other. And we did a lot of rehearsals ahead of time where we did, one of the things I did was have Sarah Brooks, who plays our Felicity. I had her like bake cookies and everything for everyone for a couple of rehearsals. Right. Just like small stuff like that is, doesn't go in a filmmaking book, but it's a good thing to sort of do because they start to build that relationship. Like in the movie when she's baking, like, oh yes, you've done this before. And so that sort of helps to build it out. And, we didn't do a lot of improvising on set. I don't know if you have an improvisation question in there, but no. We did a lot of just like playing around before and after, but like the script is so good. We really just got that. And then it's really just like, how do you build out the world so it feels that these are real people in real relationships, and that this movie is sort of, the movie's arc is in a larger arc of their entire lives.
Since both Monuments and Christmas with Felicity contain dance sequences, what is the key to both filming and making them look fun?
Good question. Is it the music? It's probably the music. I think people dancing, I think unfortunately that has to be the answer, because people dancing to no music would be really bizarre.
When you first read the script, and given, I'm sure, an impossibly short production schedule, how did you want to spin it to either to your particular style or to distinguish it from the crowded holiday romance field?
Make it good.
Now you're just going to torture me with these short.
No. Make it good, and I guess there's a little bit of sass there, but I guess like it sort of answers both questions. Like,
yes, it does.
That sets it apart, and it's also the sort of things that I'm interested in. Like, I want to make good work, you know. And so I think if you take a look at, obviously, I think everyone probably wants that, but I think it's like really just trying to hold yourself to like, how do you make this the best you possibly can, given there's always constraints on films. I mean, period. I mean, that's a full stop. So you always are working in the world of constraints. And so how do you just find a way to make it as good as you can? And this one, the constraints were, we shot it in March of this year. COVID, obviously COVID is still going on, but March is a different time than now, just so we can say that. And so, and you know, there was no snow on the ground. So it's like, we had to make all the snow. And there's a lot of just constraints that come up. So I think that was it. And I think that it really, you know, the cool challenge of this one and the joy of this one was that I really just thought that the script worked. And it was, how do we just tell this story?
And where did you get the snowy BRoll?
Just the BRoll company, you know, I mean, we did a mixture. There's a mixture of all of the above. I mean, some of it was straight up just like, we bought that BRoll. Some of it was we shot shots and then added all the snow with special effects. Some of it was we shot shots and did half of the snow and then added the rest of it with special effects. So it's sort of a mixture of all of the above. And there's a lot of special effects shots in the movie that you wouldn't know are special effects shots. I mean, that's the sort of best way to go, I think, for special effects. I guess the David Fincher school of special effects, where it's like every shot is a special effects, but you wouldn't be able to tell.
Well, also, too, people don't realize that digital can do things other than just, you know, create monsters. It can also create atmosphere. So very good.
I mean, if you go, I feel like our conversations always lead us back to like classic Hollywood. I mean, if you go back to all those films, it's like, you know, matte painting and just sort of simple tricks or forced perspective tricks. I mean, they're really the exact same thing. And part of it's just, how does it help build mood and all that? You know, we set up a shot, and some of the design, you know, we take away from like the Monuments approach of designing a shot, but it's the same principles. It's like, there's something we want to do here. And what we want to do here is, you know, shoot this in a way so that we can add these special effects in later, because it helps sell this winter wonderland sort of thing, which is very, very important for these movies. I mean, when you get into making these movies, there's actually sort of like, people do the math on like, this is how much snow you need. This is how much mentions of Christmas you need. I mean, it can get very, very, and you can see those movies sometimes, but it feels like that.
Finally, if you had to pitch Ebenezer Scrooge before his transformation and after his transformation to convince him to watch the film, how would those pitches be different?
Well, I guess, you know, the best way to get Ebenezer Scrooge to watch the movie before the transformation would be like, I'll pay you money to watch this movie. If I gave you 3 ducats, would you watch, then you watch the movie? And because he's only motivated by money early on, and then after the transformation, it would probably be like, if you watch this movie, it'll save 15 dying babies or something like that. And he would be like, I'll watch it immediately, you know?
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.